Today is the 5th day of the month of Cheshvan, and we are up to chapter 9, discussing the laws of the mitzvah of Tzitzis and Tallis. Today we'll be doing paragraphs 1 through 4. So paragraph 1. There's a mitzvah in the Torah that if somebody is wearing a four-cornered garment, then they have to put what we call tzitzis on the corners of the garment. There's a lot of significance to this mitzvah, because every letter in the Hebrew alphabet has a numerical value, and the numerical value of the word tzitzis is 600. Each corner itself, we tie tzitzis onto it, so each of those corners has 8 strings. It's really 4 strings that are doubled over, so equal 8 strings, and there are 5 double knots. So 600 plus 8 plus 5 equals 613, the amount of the mitzvos in the Torah. Therefore, on some level, tzitzis are equal to all of the mitzvahs. And when we see tzitzis, we're supposed to remember all of the mitzvahs of the Torah. Now, to clarify, there's no requirement to wear a garment of 4 corners in order to have to put on tzitzis on it. Biblically, at least, if you're wearing a garment of 4 corners, then you have a mitzvah to put on tzitzis. However, it has become Jewish custom to specifically wear a garment of 4 corners to be able to partake in this mitzvah. And the truth of the matter is, it's not, do we say all the time, a 4-cornered garment. Really, any item of clothing which has 4 corners or more needs tzitzis on it. So if you have some unique style of clothing which has 5 corners, then that would require tzitzis as well. Something else to note is that only men have this obligation of putting tzitzis on the corner of a 4-corner garment, because the mitzvah of tzitzis does not apply at night, only during the daytime. And we have a rule that women are exempt from positive time-bound mitzvahs. Some mitzvahs are positive, to do something. Some mitzvahs are negative, don't do something. Do shake a lulav on Sukkot, don't eat not kosher. So ladies are exempt from positive mitzvahs where you have to do something, that are time-bound. Since tzitzis don't apply at night, and it's a positive mitzvah to attach tzitzis to the corner of your clothing, then ladies are exempt from it. What the material of the garment has to be made out of is a bit of a discussion. For Sephardim, it should be made out of wool. Ashkenazim could do wool or other garments, other materials, but it can't be something which is fully synthetic. Even Ashkenazim, if they're okay with the woolen one, that is preferable. The size of the garment should be at minimum 3/4 of an amma long. That is on the front 3/4 of an amma vertically, and also on the back 3/4 of an amma vertically. The space where the hole is for the head doesn't count, and the width should be at least half an amma. In today's terms, that's somewhere between 14.2 inches to 17.1 inches vertically in front and in back, and the width being somewhere between 18.9 inches and 22.7 inches. Again, that's the minimum. Bigger than that is totally fine. And on the contrary, if you do a little bit bigger than that, at least for the vertical, for the length, then that's better. Does the color of the garment make a difference? So preferably the color of this garment should be white. You might have noticed that a lot of tallises have black or blue stripes on them. Where do those stripes come from? For that, listen to the upcoming Kitzer Bite about the stripes on the tallis. In addition, we'll talk about tchiles, the blue strings that you'll see some people have on their tzitzis. Now, you won't see this with adults so much, but sometimes with kids' tzitzis, you'll see they make it a little bit like an undershirt where the sides beneath the armpits are sewn up. That's fine as long as the majority of the length is open. That's okay if the minority is sewn up. Now, so far I've been talking about what is classically called tzitzis. A more halachic term is the tallis katan, the mini tallis, and that's what we wear under our shirts all day long. Generally speaking, our children start wearing a tallis katan, a pair of tzitzis under their shirt when they turn 3 years old by their upsharin, or if they're not having upsharin, around 3 years old. It is commonly said that a child has to be toilet trained before they put on tzitzis, that if they're still wearing diapers, they're not supposed to wear tzitzis. I haven't seen this inside at all, but I spoke to my Rabbi Yitzchak Berkowitz about it, and he said that if the child is still wearing diapers, as long as the parents are being careful that the tzitzis stay clean, it's not a problem wearing tzitzis, even though the child is still wearing a diaper. Now, besides for the tzitzis, this tallis katan, there's also the tallis gadol, the regular sized tallis that men wear during morning services. At what age do men start wearing this talis gadol, this talis during morning services? So this depends on your custom. In the Sephardic community, generally they'll begin between the ages of 3 to 7. They'll start wearing it. In the Ashkenazic community, then most Ashkenazic Jews won't start wearing a talis gadol until they're married. But there are some communities in the Ashkenazic world, for example, families that come from Germany, some Hungarian families as well. There, the boys will start wearing a talis gadol as soon as they're 3 years old, the same age that they put on the talis katan, the tzitzis. They'll start wearing a regular sized talis for morning services as well. There's a lot of halachic technicality that goes into making tzitzis, and therefore it's important to buy tzitzis from a reputable salesman. It's very common for tzitzis to have a hechsher, a kosher certifier on it, and that's definitely what I recommend. Paragraph 2. A garment made out of linen could create problems with tzitzis. It's beyond the scope of this discussion to get into all the details of this, but there's a prohibition of shatnez, of wearing wool and linen together. And even though biblically, with tzitzis, for technical reasons, it might not be a problem, rabbinically at least, if you have a linen garment, you shouldn't put tzitzis on there, because tzitzis have to be, if it's made out of the blue dye techeles. If it's not, preferably at least, it's supposed to be from wool, and therefore that would be having wool and linen together. So if you have a linen garment, you either have to put on linen tzitzis, but it's best to stay away from wearing a 4-cornered linen garment. Paragraph 3. We're now going to begin going through some technical rules in how tzitzis are made. It's not so practical for us because generally we buy pre-made tzitzis in the store, but sometimes the tzitzis tear or something like that, so it's still worthwhile to know. But I do apologize in advance for the technicality of the next few paragraphs. It says in the Torah to put tzitzis on the corner of your garment. So what's considered the corner? Obviously, if you put the tzitzis, if you attach them to the middle of the garment, that's not called the corner. But how far away from the edge is still called the corner? So the hole where you're putting the tzitzis through has to be within 3 thumb breadths to the corner. In today's terminology, that translates to between 2.75 to 2.24 inches. So you should make sure it's within 2.24 inches of the corner, of the edge of the garment at least. If the hole is further into the garment and then you just tie the string tight to wrinkle up the edge, that doesn't count. That's still considered too far away from the edge to be considered the corner. Also, if the hole was too far in and you tied it and then you say, oh, it's too far in, let me make a tier to bring the tzitzis closer to the edge, and then I'll sew up the tier on the inner edge of the garment, and that will bring the hole to the outer edge. You can't do that either. You have to tie it in a hole that's already close to the edge. It's already in the corner. We also have to make sure that the hole isn't too close to the edge of the tzitzis or of the talis. If it's too close to the edge, it's not called the corner anymore. It's called that the hole is on the edge, not in the corner. What's called too close? So I don't have a inch measurement, but approximately from the middle knuckle of your thumb until the edge of your fingernail. If it's closer than that to the edge of the talis or tzitzis, then that would not be a good hole. Now in this case, if the hole was far enough away from the edge, but when you tie the tzitzis, you tied it tight and it scrunched up and now it's closer to the edge within that measurement, that's still called in the corner. That's not a problem of being too close to the edge. It's common to have on the sides of a regular sized talis, to have the edges of the talis ending in like fringes in threads that are tied together or knots, not sealed, not finished off with a hem. The question is, those threads coming off, what's considered the edge of the talis for this? Is it the edge of those threads or the edge of where the material is properly sewn? Because it's not clear, then we should make sure that by the corners where the hole is, over there, you don't have those fringes hanging off. It has a smooth, clean hem over in that area. And that is how our talises are made. There are some people that have a custom of, instead of having one hole, they have 2 holes in each corner, and then the tzitzis strings go through inside one hole, out the other hole. If that's your custom, great. If it's not your custom, if you don't have that custom, then just go with the standard tzitzis with only one hole. Paragraph 4. Let's say you made the hole of the tzitzis where the tzitzis are going to go through far enough away from the edge, not too far, but far enough away to be considered not on the edge. It's in the corner. It's more than the length from your knuckle to your thumbnail. but then it tore a little bit and it got closer to the edge. Is that a problem? Is that considered not in the corner anymore? Is that considered now it's on the edge of the garment instead of the corner of the garment? The answer is no, that is still considered kosher, because the main thing is to make sure for this one aspect at least, that when you tied it, the hole was in the corner. Now it doesn't make a difference if it got closer to the edge afterwards. But the other way, if the tear went into the garment, that would be a problem like we mentioned in paragraph 3. This concludes today's episode. Have a wonderful day and see you tomorrow.